Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Donald Trump made a post on Truth Social, but it's all about Crimea. So Trump, I predict Trump is going to walk away from the Ukraine negotiations, because here's the funny thing. You know, Trump is acting like, oh, the United States is the negotiator. What you forget is that the United States is actually at war with Russia. That's the so and and so you don't get to come in and no, we're neutral. No, he's still arming. We're still arming Ukraine. We gave them hundreds of billions of dollars. We were at war with Russia, and Russia knows this. And guess what? We lost. Guess what? We lost. Like we lose every war. Russia won. And so Russia gets to set the terms of the peace deal. And Zelensky thinks he can stop Russia from setting the terms. If Russia wants, they can take over Ukraine. But what they want is they're going to keep Crimea, which is the part they annexed in 2014.
Which they already had.
Which was part of Russia for hundreds of years.
As was the borderlands, a.k.a. the Ukraine.
Right. Right. So, and the big problem, as I've explained on this show many times, is that Ukraine was slaughtering and bombing the ethnic Russians in the east part of Ukraine who didn't want to go along with their coup government. The United States overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2014, the Maidan coup. Victoria Nuland, the CIA, the United States did that because the president of Ukraine at the time was favoring Russia, being in business with Russia as opposed to the European Union, and we couldn't have that. So we overthrew their government. The ethnic Russian-speaking people in the eastern part of Ukraine didn't want to go along with that coup government after we installed our puppets. Well, Ukraine just kept bombing them. There was a couple of peace deals. Ukraine broke them both. And so when Putin invaded Ukraine, it wasn't to start a war, it was to end a war. It was to end the slaughter of the people in the Donbass. That was one objective. So now Donald Trump's move on Russia occupied Crimea forces Europe to choose sides. Donald Trump's move on Russia occupied Crimea. So let me read that again. Donald Trump's move on Russia-occupied Crimea.
Just say Crimea, assholes at Financial Times.
Yeah, I know, right? Donald Trump's move
Crimea, the thing that's theirs. Okay, Crimea, go.
The thing that's Russians. And by the way, 90% of the people in Crimea want to be a part of Russia.
And they're Russian.
So the problem is that Zelensky said, we will not have any peace deal that gives Crimea to Russia. So that means there's not going to be no peace deal. So there's nothing in it for Russia to stop. Because they're winning.
How is Zelensky alive still? I don't get it. We've killed better men for much less.
And so here's what Trump tweeted this out after Zelensky said, I will not accept a peace deal that gives up Crimea. Well, tell that to the people of Crimea because they don't want to be part of Ukraine. So that's just another garbage talking point. Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social. He said, Ukrainian President Zelensky is boasting on the front pages of the Wall Street Journal that Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about there. Now, the funny part about that is it doesn't matter if Ukraine recognizes Russia occupying Crimea. They are.
Does BlackRock recognize it? That's what counts.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter. Ukraine can recognize it, not recognize it, play hide and seek with it. It could do whatever it wants. Doesn't matter. Ukraine does not matter. They've lost the war.
Yeah.
As we all predicted.
We stopped giving them money.
And as it was always predicted at this show since day one that this war is going to end up exactly the way Russia wanted it to end up. And they had a peace deal immediately that was way more favorable to Ukraine than they're going to get now. And Ukraine walked away from it because Boris Johnson and Victoria Nuland told them to stop it. So to walk away from it. So they did. They walked away from that peace deal. And we said at the time, they just screwed up. This is the best deal they're going to get. It's only going to get worse from here because Russia's going to win this war, and the winners get to decide the terms.
Plus, they have a lot of casualties, Russia. You think they have all those casualties for nothing? What are they, the United States?
Right? This statement, so Trump says this statement, him saying Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea, there's nothing to talk about there. This statement is very harmful to the peace negotiations with Russia in that Crimea was lost years ago, meaning 11 years ago, under the auspices of President Barack Hussein Obama. I like to use his whole name. And it's not even a point of discussion. It's not even a point of discussion. This happened under Barack Obama.
Yeah, right. I remember it very, very well.
Nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory, but if he wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired?
Fair question. Oh, because the residents were Russian
Yeah,
and
right.
they didn't trust the coup?
The area also houses, for many years before the Obama handover, major Russian submarine bases. It's inflammatory statements like Zelensky's that make it so difficult to settle this war. He has nothing to boast about. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country. I have nothing to do with Russia, but have much to do with wanting to save, on average, 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week who are dying for no reason whatsoever. The statement made by Zelensky today will do nothing but prolong the killing fields, and nobody wants that. We are very close to a deal, but the man with the no cards to play should now finally get it done, meaning Zelensky. I look forward to being able to help Ukraine and Russia get out of this complete and total mess that would have never have started if I were president. So he's laying it out. And so he's like, hey, this is it. And I predict that Zelensky is being told by his European people and the neocons in the United States, don't let go of Crimea. Make that your line in the sand, because they know that that means the war will go on forever.
Yeah, Zelensky's smart to keep listening to them. Like that first time, he was really smart to listen to Bojo say it's a no-go.
And so now this creates a problem for Europe. So, as the Financial Times says, Donald Trump's ultimatum for the U.S. to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea has suddenly confronted European capitals with an agonizing choice: stick with Kyiv or side with Washington. Some European officials fear differences over the Trump administration's one-sided draft accord will put one-sided draft accord. They lost. The United States, Europe, and Ukraine lost the war. Will put bilateral relations with London, Berlin, and other capitals to the test, undermine transatlantic security, and potentially derail a NATO summit in late June. Good. Let's derail that NATO summit. The Europeans have...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Where's my fainting couch? The Europeans has always been in a weak position to stand up to the United States, said Jeremy Shapiro, director of the U.S. program at the European Council on Foreign Relations. They've been trying to avoid it for that reason.
Wait, because we pay for everything? Could that be the reason why?
That's probably the reason. European hopes of being included in the U.S.-led talks were dashed on Wednesday when U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio pulled out of the meeting in London with Ukrainian and European officials, and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff opted instead to make his fourth visit to the Kremlin. The Trump administration has presented Kyiv with the outline of a take-it-or-leave-it deal with terms highly favorable to Moscow because they won the war. That's why the Financial Times doesn't want to tell you that. They want to make it look like Trump siding with Russia. Russia won the war.
How would Kyiv like to be presented with exploding instead of that?
Yeah.
Because there's your other choice. Kyiv.
Including the U.S. recognition of Russia's sovereignty over Crimea 11 years after it annexed the Ukrainian Peninsula in contravention of international law. Okay, I got your international law right here.
Yeah.
President Volodymyr Zelensky refused once again on Tuesday to recognize Russia's sovereignty over any of the territory it has seized since 2014. Kyiv, however, is ready to live with de facto Russian control in return for Western security guarantees. Yeah, because they have no choice. They're ready to live with Russia controlling Crimea because they don't have a choice. But thousands more people should die over semantics. On Wednesday, Trump lashed out at Zelensky's stance, calling it very harmful. I just read you that. He can have peace or he can fight another 3 years before losing the whole country. Washington's offer to endorse Moscow's control of Crimea, breaking with the agreed policy of NATO, is possibly the biggest concession it has made to Moscow in recent months in its haste to strike a deal.
I think it's not that big of a concession since I don't give a
I don't give a flying fuck about Crimea.
NATO,
do you?
Yeah, it does seem like a concession. It seems like a win-win to me.
Yep.
A concession.
A close ally of German Chancellor-to-be Friedrich Merz said late on Wednesday that Europe could not accept the proposal. Well, good. Then you keep fighting in Ukraine. You go to war with Russia then. Good, Germany.
Oh, yeah, I bet it'll work out great for you.
Yeah, I bet it's going to work out great. Your economy's
repair that pipeline first so you have enough gas.
Yeah, you let them blow up their pipeline, and now you're paying 3-4 times the rate for energy than you were before the United States blew up the pipeline, and your economy's in a recession. They call it a contraction.
Hey, we'll sell you the gas cheap.
Yeah. Putin will achieve all his goals, and the message that would be sent out would be, I can afford such aggression. I will prevail in the end and achieve my goals. Thorsten Frey, a senior MP with the center-right Christian Democrat, said on television show. And that means if you look at the tradition in which Putin sees himself, that he will continue. So it's this lie. It's this domino theory. So this is the domino theory that if we don't stop Putin now, he's going to keep going and to take over Lithuania and he's going to take over Poland and Germany. He's going to take over the whole continent. That's all a lie.
You know what I think, Jimmy? I think if Putin doesn't stop you assholes now, you're going to keep going.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
The Trump administration has also ruled out Ukraine's membership of NATO, a longstanding Russian objection to a NATO pledge to allow Kyiv into the alliance at a future point. While Moscow has been lavished with inducements, Kyiv has been subjected to pressure and threats. It has been offered little in exchange for giving up its territory because it lost the fucking war. That's why. They have no leverage. Or as George Costanza says, we have no hand.
Putin should have to dress up like a hula girl like he used to do. He should have to belly dance into the meeting like a little hula girl.
So this is from the Financial Times. And I just love how they write these stories as if Ukraine hasn't lost those territories already. They lost them. Yeah. There's zero recognition of the facts on the ground in these newspaper stories, which is what they expect Russia. They expect Russia to give back territory that they won at a great cost in lives and treasure. Russia's not doing that. They're not giving it back. The worst case would be if the U.S. cannot reach a deal between Ukraine and Russia, and this is all pushed on Ukraine. This is when Europe would have to choose. Yeah.
Between you, come on. Oh, I wonder what they'll choose.
I wonder what they'll choose, Kurt. Ukrainian officials said before Wednesday's talks that they were prepared to discuss other terms of Washington's outlined deal. Ukraine is ready to negotiate, but not to surrender. There will be no agreement that hands Russia the stronger foundations it needs to regroup and return to with greater violence. Okay.
Oh, wait,
I guess you're just going to give away your whole country then, as Trump said. The war's been going on for, 4 years?
Yeah, people think they've been winning. I know people that think they've been winning, Jimmy. Like, when they say it to me, I can't believe it. It's like a horror movie.
Those are people who are on their 10th booster, Kurt.
I wish I could say it was all that, but the one dude I know is because he went to officer school, and he wasn't a grunt. He was officer school. And that's where they train you that nonsense.
Western officials told Financial Times that European capitals would not endorse any move by the U.S. to recognize Crimea as Russian or pressure Kyiv to agree to it. And they would hold fast to a long-held position that they would not accept anything regarding Ukraine's sovereignty that Zelensky opposed. Crimea is Ukraine, European Union foreign policy chief told French news. So good. So you guys go fund the war.
Guys,
Good.
best of luck to you.
Best of luck.
I think you're going to do it this time.
Things don't look good at all, said an EU official. Any move by the U.S. to recognize Crimea as Russia or demand that European capitals ease sanctions on Moscow would kill European Union unity. It's all looking back. Well, screw your European Union unity.
It should have been done back when you blew up that pipeline.
Yeah.
And had the Slovakian president shot.
That's
because
right.
he wanted to look into Pfizer.
That's right.
And stop funding Ukraine. It should have been done back then.
Yeah, the European unity should have been over when they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, which cast all your economies into recessions and makes you pay 2, 3, 4 times the price for energy. That's when European unity should have stopped. So it's over. So I can't wait for Trump to, and the war will end very quickly after if Trump pulls out all support for Ukraine, it will end very quickly.
No, of course, because they're only hanging on because they think they've got people planted within the system that are going to keep the money going to Ukraine. Because so far they have done that.
And remember, the United States is not a neutral negotiator in this war. They are at war with Russia, and they lost. The United States lost.
We're going to have all these people die so that we can save face for our crash dummy, aka Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay. Over. So I look forward to Trump getting us out of that. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.